Yeah. And it's thinking beginning to end, starting today. Beginning to
Don't
end,
wait.
starting today.
Yes.
Because you've got to think about people. Some people only want to think about death when it occurs. Some people only want to think about retirement when it happens. And ultimately, the human nature is procrastination. And
Sure.
when you procrastinate about your money, you procrastinate about how you're going to utilize your monies, how you're going to use your funds. How's that going to work for you in retirement? Like Ron's saying, do you have a secondary retirement? Can you retire in the highest tax bracket? And the sad reality of life is people don't think about it early enough. So when they do retire, they've lived this high life. They've lived in a higher tax bracket because at some point you hit the peak of your working journey where you were making the most money you ever made. I don't care if it's 36,000 a year, it could be 60,000, 100,000, 600,000, 6 million, 60 million. Whatever, at some point you hit a peak. And that's when you were at the highest financial life that you could be at. And you were enjoying the best life that you can financially. And then all of a sudden, you've got to reduce it because you didn't utilize these strategies in the beginning. And at the end, you've reduced your income, your lifestyle's cut in half for the rest of your life. You pass away, your family has nothing. That's
Well,
unfortunately the sadness about the situation.
absolutely. And real quick, well, like you and I have talked about the estate planning concept and the estate planning piece that you and I have been, talking about. Why do people delay? And this estate plan phrase is always at towards the end of your work life. Why is that? Why are we not planning for this and just amending as life goes? And what I mean by amending, if you have an estate plan that makes sure things are taken care of from a will, a trust, living will, powers of attorney, all these different things that we've talked about, the amendments are, hey, you start to have more children, you need to amend to make sure they're part of it. That's the amendment part. Not trying to work backwards to try to recapture everything you've done for 30 years of work. Do it as you go. Guardianship for children, all these are all very important things. And as children get older, you don't need that guardianship anymore. So there's another amendment that you take away. You don't need to add it. You take that away. Now you're growing your assets. You're growing your so-called estate. So you're continuing to maneuver to go with what you're building. Why are you waiting till you've built this to try to cover it all? Cover it as you continue to go. I just don't understand that mentality. And I think the estate aspect of this is to your point, we need to do things from the beginning. Start when you're young. Start when you're able. In terms of income wise, obviously when you're 18, 16, that's not what I'm talking about. When you're established, you're in your career and you're doing things, start planning, not just as an asset perspective, but how that overall affects your estate. And people don't think that way when they're 25. They don't. My estate, what estate? That's like an old term, right? You
Right.
wait till you're 50, 60-year-olds old to do that. No, do it now. Plan. Get it together. Organize.
Reminds me of a quote, man, and I know you got to run, but it reminds me of a quote that I saw on a video once. I think it was a movie. I can't remember where it came from, but the guy said, you're not ready to live until you're ready to die. You can't plan a proper life unless you plan the proper death, and it comes down to if you get the concept, rewind what you said. You said it, in a progressive manner, speaking into the future, but start at that death benefit, right? I want to leave a legacy for my family. I don't care if I die at 43 or 93. I want to leave a legacy of some kind, right? Something that is going to change a paradigm. And then you backtrack that. What do I want retirement to look like? It's the same concept that I talk about with my kids when they were smaller. I never spoke to my children about what do you want to be when you grow up. It was always, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live, right? When you think about retirement, it's the same conversation I have with my children. It's
Yeah.
not, where do you want to retire? It's how do you want to retire?
Yes.
It's how do you want to retire? How do you want to live out those last days? You know, people think about only the idea of not having to go to work. Not having to go to work means that you reduce your income from a 200,000 a year to 60,000 a year, and now your lifestyle reduces with it. So retirement is about how do you want to retire? And then based upon how do you want to retire, you can then backtrack and utilize your cash and create true wealth for yourself, where it's just rinse and repeat like we've talked about in the past.